Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Mary. How are you doing, Sister Mary? Yes. Grand Rising. Yes, absolutely. Good. Glad y'all doing good this morning. Glad you guys are doing good this morning. We'll wait another few seconds. People want to come on. We'll let them come on before we start. Jimmy, what's going on? What's going on, sir? Yes, yes. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So yesterday we started the series. We started a definite series yesterday. Good morning, Janelle. What's going on, bro? We started the series yesterday about shortcuts, and so I really appreciate. First of all, I thank you guys for coming on here. Good morning, Unc. How you doing? Um, and I really appreciate the feedback. Got a lot of feedback from yesterday. Good morning, Ken. What's going on, bro? Got a lot of feedback from yesterday about the shortcuts and what you guys thought. I had a lot of questions built um, into the video yesterday, and so I really liked the feedback. I went over them. I actually copied some of them and put them into today's video, so we can kind of get a real good, clear understanding about shortcuts. And as you see in the title, the good, the bad, and the ugly of shortcuts. And I did a little bit of research and just really researching as far as looking at different, articles and things like that. And then listening to what you guys said was very, very eye opening um, to this subject. And obviously, starting off the God bless you too, thank you. So the shortcuts, look at the definition of shortcuts. I want to reiterate this again. It just simply says a shortcut is a shorter alternative route, right? A shorter alternative route. And then the next explanation, next definition says an accelerated way of doing or achieving something. And so when I think about acceleration, I like it, right? I like anytime I can accelerate an achievement, I can get there quicker than that seems to be on my first impression of that is that's good, an accelerated way of doing something or achieving something, that's good, okay? And so, but we did also learn that I asked the question yesterday, where I asked you guys, is short are shortcuts good or bad? And then most say it depends on the situation. And so when are they good? Okay, when are they bad? Okay, and many of you answered those, and we're going to get to those in a little bit. And so also, so we must know a shortcut is a cut, right? It is cutting something out. You're cutting something away from the main body. That's what the word cut means. You cut something away from the main body. And so we must know that means that this is very important, that if something's being cut out, I must know what it is that's being cut out. Is what being cut out, is that a good thing to cut out, or is it a bad thing to cut out? And sometimes if something is cut out, something else might be cut in, right? If something's cut out, it's going to give room for something else to come in. And so the three things I pulled out yesterday, the three no's when it comes to shortcut: we must know what's being cut out, right? Then the second one, we must know the cost of the cut. So whatever shortcut I'm taking, I must know the cost of the cut, the cost of the cut. What's being cut out? Am I cutting out time? Am I cutting out process? What am I cutting out? And most of the time, like I admitted that, driving, I love shortcuts when I'm driving because it cuts out time, right? I'm saving time. Instead of taking 8 minutes, it's going to take 5 minutes. And I'll take that 3 minute save. I'll save those 3 minutes every time, just about, because mostly because I'm an impatient driver, if I can keep it 100. So, absolutely, I like that. And so here you go. And then the first one is what's being cut out. Know the cost of being cut, the cost of the cut. What's the cost of it? And then I brought up I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay. And does the end justify the means? So if I want to lose 50 pounds, then what's going to govern my decision is losing 50 pounds. So I can go get surgery. I can lose 50 pounds in a matter of a few hours. Okay. But what's the cost of that? I must know the cost. And, you've seen there's TV shows even that deal with people, with those kind of shortcuts or surgeries, and then something bad happens. It doesn't come out like you expected it to, or it doesn't come out, and now you got to deal with these other things. So I must know the cost of the shortcut. What's the cost of it? So I can go through a long process of losing 50 pounds, or I can lose 50 pounds in a matter of a few hours with surgery. But I must understand the cost, and I must ask myself, am I willing to pay this cost for this end result? Right? Am I willing to pay the cost for the end result? And then the third thing I came out is we must know when to reject the shortcut and accept the longer route. When to reject the shortcut and accept the longer route, because a desired path is usually the path with least resistance. A desired path is usually the path with least resistance. So if I want to lose 50 pounds, guess what? The least amount of resistance I can get is go ahead, get on the surgery table and get the 50 pounds cut off of me, because I'm not, with that, it's least resistance. I'm not going to have to, exercise. I'm not going to have to run. I'm not going to have to get a personal trainer. I'm not going to have to get a nutritionist. I'm not going to have to learn how to eat. I'm not going to have to learn all these different things. It's because those things are going to produce resistance based on my previous behavior, right? And so that desired path is usually a path with least resistance, which is not, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying we must know the cost, right? We must know the cost. So I do admit that I do believe in working smarter instead of harder. But like where we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Sometimes things have been created for us where we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Good morning, everybody coming on. Shantae, Serena, Evan. So we don't have to recreate the wheel, right? Reinvent it. It's something that's been created for us, been invented for us for efficiency, for us to be efficient. We don't have to go around this long process, if we can get it done right now. It's kind of like the microwave thing. It's not as good as cooking, but if I want to cook something really fast, I want to pop some popcorn, hey, let's just pop it in the microwave instead of putting it in the oven, make the oven get hot enough, and then learning. It's a quicker way to get something done. Okay, so or even mentorship. I love mentors. I have quite a few mentors for just the most vital areas of my life. Right, I have these mentors. Mentors can be seen as a sign, as a kind of shortcut, right? They've gone through these things and these life lessons. They've gone through these experiences that you may have not had the time to go through all these experiences. Then you take their wisdom, you take their knowledge and their wisdom at their word, and now you can get success in a certain area without going through the long process that your mentor may have gone through. I agree with that. I believe in that. I believe in if I don't have to go through all these different things, I can actually get the wisdom from it, from a mentor, from somebody who has those experiences, from somebody who's been through so much more in a certain area than I have. I can accommodate their wisdom. I can accommodate that. And it can be like a shortcut instead of going all the way around it. Like, oh, I mean, you don't have to do that. If you do this and that, it'll cut you right to that. And now I can do that, right? I can do that. It's like driving up in an area, back in the old school days when we didn't have GPS, you had to stop and ask somebody who was familiar with the local area that you weren't familiar with. So you pull over and say, hey man, how do I get to this place? Because why? Because they have wisdom on something, on a destination that you have in Target. You have a destination in Target, but somebody else who lives there, they're gonna have a little bit more knowledge, right, than you. So you say, I mean, you know what? The quickest way to get there, because you like the map says I should go this way. He said, no, the quickest way to get there is take this street, make a left, make a right at that building, hit this, hit that. That's a shortcut, and you're going to get there quicker. That's smart. That's working smarter instead of just not asking questions and just taking the longer route. Somebody has been there. They've done it longer. They've done it better. They just have more experience. So just take their word for it. I believe in that. So that's the good. Those are the good. And so I do want to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly about shortcuts. The good, those are the things, those are the good things. And so the benefits. Now, of course, shortcuts is case sensitive. Looking at you guys' feedback, shortcuts is definitely case sensitive, and I totally agree with that. And so, in the essence of getting directions from somebody who's local, somebody who knows better than me, or a mentor, that is absolutely a benefit of a shortcut. That is cutting out different things. It's cutting out time. I don't have to waste 20 minutes going or all the way around when I can get some advice to go through and get there quicker, right? And so so the benefits is when you can work smarter and not harder. Those are benefits. Other benefits, looking at you guys' feedback, doing basic natural everyday tasks quicker. When you can do just natural, everyday tasks quicker, getting to a destination quicker or faster, right? That is a benefit to a shortcut. Sometimes shortcuts can allow you to see new things. They can allow you to see new scenery. This happened to me just recently. I talked about this yesterday. I found a quicker route. If the light is red at this street, I'm impatient. I found a quicker route through this little neighborhood, and I'm like, man, this is a nice little neighborhood. There's some nice houses, and it opened up new scenery to me. And I was like, wow, this is something right there, basically in my backyard, I didn't even know was here. So I was made aware of some new things. And sometimes shortcuts, different alternative routes, right? It's an alternative route. It's a different route than the common one. So it can make you privy to things that you didn't understand or didn't know in the prior to you taking that shortcut. And so also, shortcuts give designers ideas to pave ways. So I saw this on the the UC Irvine campus. So they noticed they had these designers who actually watched and noticed that there were these paths that were being created in grassy areas. And so what they did, instead of telling the students, hey, stay off this grass, we cut it, we've manicured it, we fed it, it's great grass, stay off of it. They actually took the routes that people were taking to class, the students were taking to class, and they paved those routes. So instead of just letting the grass just, making path through the grass, they actually paved the routes, because the students would, as a student, as college students, you college students, old college students like myself, you're going to get there, you're going to get to class as quick as possible. You don't care if the road is paved or not. You're going to get there the straightest line you can get there. Okay. And so one benefit of shortcuts is it creates the designers will can create and pave paths for you once they observe behavior and they observe the routes people are taking to get here or to get there. They'll actually make a path for it. Just like when I talked about you going to the mall, right? If you know the store you're going to go to, are you going to go to the main entrance of the mall, or will you go through the department store to get to your store quicker, right? You're going to go through the department store. But the department store knows that, right? So what do they put? Right when you walk in, they know most of these store, or a lot of people, a great percentage of people walking in the store have no intention of shopping here. But since they're taking a shortcut to their favorite store, be it Nike, Foot Locker, whatever it is, I'm going to advertise. I'm going to put something in their way. I'm going to advertise and make them stop and say, whoa, I see something. So a benefit of this is now designers can actually put, and this can be a negative thing as well. They can put distractions in your way, right? They know you're going to walk through their store for a shortcut to get there. You're going to take the short route. So if you're going to come in my store, I might as well throw some marketing at you, throw some advertising at you, advertise that hot shirt, hot hat, hot dress, whatever it is. I'm going to put that in your path because I know that you're taking a shortcut. So I'm going to create a way to enhance this, knowing that you're going to take a shortcut. So now people are designing. They're making designs based on your shortcut. So these can be positive, beneficial things. Okay, these can be beneficial things. You might need something. You walk through the shortcut. You're like, oh, you know what? I see that dress. I needed that. Actually, I need that. Or you see a tie. Oh, I need that tie for an event I'm coming. So shortcuts can give you new scenery. It can open you up to things that you weren't, specifically looking for at that moment. Okay, and so. That's about it for the good, y'all. I'm sorry. It's time to get to what most of you guys' input and reflecting on what you guys, your statements and comments, a lot of the benefits where you had some good benefits, and I've covered those, but now it's time to kind of get to the meat of what you guys said and kind of what I see as well. I asked you guys the question, what was the bad? What's the bad? And so one bad in your responses were short long cut, and that's the truth. Sometimes my coach said if you shortcut the shortcut, you could get cut short. So if you shortcut the shortcut, you could actually get cut short, right? And with some other things that was said was really good. Talking about they when shortcuts can cause you not to be able to work on your patience, right? You might lack patience, and when you take shortcuts, it might actually substantiate your lack of patience. So now you're looking for shortcuts, so you're not patient. So now you can just continue to not hone your ability to be patient. That was another one. Getting to the bigger picture. We may miss things. We may miss out on some things. When you are taking shortcuts, you may miss out on the journey or lessons. You may miss out on journeys and lessons. That was something that really stuck out to me. You may miss out on the process. Shortcuts may cause too much damage. Okay, forces. Here it is. Shortcuts in life can end up prolonging the process. Okay, and causing you to have to go through unnecessary occurrences. And so, with that being said, I can also, I like that, signs of laziness. So a shortcut can also encourage laziness, encourage slothfulness, because and I'm gonna actually talk about that. Um, I'm actually going to talk about that. And so, and then cheating. Shortcuts absolutely cause cheating. I'm going to talk about that too. Thank you for sharing that. So a process. Now look at this. Some things require process. So shortcut can actually prolong success. So let me ask you this question. Can there be success without process? Can there be success without process? And remember, a process is a continuous action, operation, or series of changes in a definite manner. So a process is continuous action, operation, or a series of changes that take place in a definite manner. That's something that's crucial, because I believe success is about change. I believe success is about change, where you're changing and you're becoming something that you're after. You're after something, so you have to go through a process to become what you're not, but you want to be something that you want to be. You're not there yet, right? But you're going to be there, and it's going to take a process. And what that process does, it's a series of actions and things that are producing change. So my question is, can there be success without change? And I say no, there can't be success. I mean, can there be success without process? I'm saying no. I'm saying I don't believe there can be success without a process. And so that means a shortcut can pose a major threat to process. A shortcut can pose a major threat to change. And so prolonged success. So, even when I asked my wife, I said, what do you think about shortcuts? And she said, well, shortcuts can be good, but shortcuts in life, they can be dangerous. And she talked about that. It can prolong things. It can cause you to have to go back to stages that you could have knocked out a while ago, right? So prolonged success. I was watching the Cardinals game last night. And one of the pictures, we paid a whole lot of money for this picture, a free agent picture over the offseason, right? And so, pitchers have to go through a long process before the season starts. They have a preseason. When they go to spring training, they throw so many innings, throw so many pitches a day. They do this. Well, he wasn't in that process. He skipped that process because he was in a lot of, contract talks and trying to find a team, his agent was trying to find him the best team, right? For the most money. The end result was, I need to get the most money for my athlete. That's the end. But remember, I asked you yesterday, does the end justify the means? And if if the end justifies the means, shortcut is the MVP of my life. So here it is. He was in contract talks. He ended up getting the major contracts, a lot of $1 million, like $13, $14 million. He got the best contract. So that was the end goal, was to get the best contract. He got that. But guess what? In getting that, he skipped out on the process of going to spring training. And what happened is, he was one of the best closers in the game, one of the best pitchers in the game last year at closing games. And then he comes to spring training, he skips spring training, comes into joins his team late. So he doesn't know his teammates, doesn't know his catcher. And you know the biggest thing for a pitcher is the relationship with his catcher. The relationship, the catcher knowing his ends, knowing his strengths, knowing his weaknesses. He skipped all of that. And so what happened is he missed process, and then he came in and he's like one of the worst closers in the game this year so far. Because why? He skipped process. So you know what they had to do? They had to send one of the best pitchers in the whole major leagues last year at closing games. They had to send him down to the minor leagues. And this is what happens when we skip process, when we take shortcuts that skip process, it can cause prolonged success. So he had to go back down to the minor leagues for, I believe, 10 days. And he's down there with these guys. Here he is, $14 million man, down with these guys that's making, a couple $100 a month. Maybe some of them probably making $800-900 a month. They're trying to work. They're trying to just get to the big leagues, And now he's down there in the middle of the season. Basically, he's down there with the minor leagues, and he's one of the best major league pitchers in the game of the previous year. And so shortcuts can cause shortcuts can cause prolonged success. And so, but he says something I love. He says something so good. They talked to him. They were like, well, because he wasn't actually the results in minor leagues wasn't very good. And sometimes when we go through a long process, we can't be so focused on the results. We can't be so focused at the end goal, the numbers. We have to be focused on now the process. I'm going to endure the process. I got to get my feel back, get my pitches back. And so he was getting lit up. Like he didn't have very good numbers. And like, so your average person's like, oh man, look at his numbers. They're not watching him. They're not watching him work. They're not watching him, when the lights and cameras and action is off. They're not watching him run at night. They're not watching him when the cameras aren't on him. They're looking at the results. And people were like, oh man, he's not throwing good. He's giving up home runs to these minor leaguers. Oh, there's no hope. And he says something so crucial. This is before he came into the game last night. He says, I'm focused on the process, not the results. And I immediately thought about the video from yesterday morning. He says, I'm focused on the process, not the results. He says, I got to feel for my slider again. I got to feel for my fastball again. I got to feel. So I wasn't really worried about them hitting the ball. I was worried about me. And isn't that an awesome teachable moment that we cannot, when we're looking at trying to grow in life and trying to get better, we can't think about and be so focused on what people are thinking about us. We have to be focused. Are you growing? Are you getting better? Are you getting a feel for where you are? Are you getting a feel for getting your mojo back? Are you getting that back? Not what are other people? Am I pleasing them? And am I satisfying, their entertainment? And am I satisfying what they want? And sure enough, he got in that game last night, and he was the best all year. He was the best we've seen all year. He struck out. He only faced 3 batters. 1, 2, 3. He sat them all down. He got 3 outs, struck out 2 guys, throwing pitches, and they were, whoa, look at that pitch. Well, guess what? He got his feel back during the process. When he embraced the process, he got his feel back. So shortcuts, some things require process, y'all. And we have to endure that process because we don't want a shortcut to something that it requires a process is going to cause prolonged success. Right? It's going to cause prolonged success. Good morning, everybody coming on here. So focus creates blindness, right? He was focused initially. He was focused on getting this big contract, but it created blindness to the process that actually brought him success in the past. So focus creates blindness. Whenever you're focused on north, you're blind to south. When you're focused on up, you're blind to down. When you're focused on right, you're blind to left. So focus does create blindness, and I'm a big fan of focus. But we must also know that focus creates blindness. It absolutely does. It subconsciously creates blindness. And so I was looking at the shortcut mindset, right? The shortcut mindset. That's what I want to talk about. The shortcut mindset. What is the shortcut mindset? The shortcut mindset is where my focus in life is about a shortcut. How can I get this destination? How can I get this success as quick as possible? How can I cut out? And so that mindset can be very dangerous. I was reading this article, and I remember a shortcut for focus creates blindness, right? So when I was on campus, I used to take shortcuts. When I was at Mizzou, I would take shortcuts. I'd go through the quad based on my next class. And I was so focused on getting to my class the quickest that I was also perceived. I had a friend, one of my closest friends. He was like, "Hey man, my cousin goes to Mizzou." I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, how long she been here?" He's like, "Oh, she been there like 2 years." And I'm like, "Man, what she look like?" I'm sure I've seen her. I've been on the campus for a couple of years. I had been there. I think it was my second or third year there. And he says, she's seen you, but she says you look mean. You look like unapproachable. And I'm like, what? And I couldn't believe it because people who know me, I'm not a mean person, right? I've never been considered a mean person. That's not even like a part of some. If somebody says describe Tyrone, you're not gonna say, "Oh, he's mean." That's not the first thing gonna come out of your mouth. But this person who didn't know me, they say, "Yeah, you look really mean." She says you look really mean. And this is a brother I grew up with since we were like 3 or 4 years old. And so I'm like, man, that's crazy. And then, but you know what it did? It made me think. And I'm like, now what would make her say I look mean? And you know what it was? Shortcuts. Shortcuts. Shortcut was my focus. So my focus was the end justifies the means. I must get there. I have to get there. Shortcuts can create tunnel vision. So here it is. I'm going to class and I'm like, wow, yeah, if she sees me on campus, I'm usually just really focused on getting to my next class and I'm focused on getting there. Why? Probably because I'm running late, right? Probably because I'm running late. So I'm focused on getting to class and I had tunnel vision. And sure enough, it made me become aware that somebody is perceiving me to be something that I'm not, all because I'm focused on this shortcut. I got to get there as quick as I can. And I'm focusing. And so, when you're focusing on something, you're gonna be intense. And so here it is. This girl thought I was just a mean person. So what happened was probably about not even a month after I was talking to my brother about that, I changed. I was more aware of my look and how I was looking. And I'm like, man, if a lot of people might think I'm mean or unapproachable. And sure enough, I saw on campus and I was like, how you doing? And we made a joke about it and we laughed. But you know what? Focus creates blindness. It creates blindness. Here it is. I could have met this person and we could have been friends, but because I'm so focused on the shortcut, now I'm blind to new things, new relationships, new people. I'm blind to recognition, recognizing different things that could be a benefit to my life. And so look at this. I was reading the Huffington Post this morning, and it says, I got a few more minutes. I was reading this morning. It says, sometimes your brain's tendency toward efficiency short circuits your own intelligence. Now, this is huge. This is starting to go, this is the bad. I already talked about the bad, but this is going to start to go into the ugly just a little bit. So it says, when you are so focused, your brain is so focused on efficiency, shortcuts, it actually, you get cut short. Just like Coach said, you short circuit your own intelligence. And so when it talks about this, listen to this quote by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It says, the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. So he says, again, the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. So when you have a shortcut, right? You have a shortcut that's presented itself to you. You have the shortcut and then you have the longer route. You can have these two options, but you can still function. You can still not be in tunnel vision. You can still function and retain, it says, the ability to function. I think that's so crucial because how often do we have two, it's either one thing or it's the other. It's either this or that. And then we make it this black and white when there are these gray areas that we could be, that can enhance our lives. There can be these gray areas that can enhance our lives, that can open up our minds, open up our understanding. And instead of just looking at it's either this or it's that. And so he says, first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. the ability to function, to soak in the experience instead of just being tunnel vision. It's either black and white. I choose white, and now I'm focused on that. I'm tunnel vision towards that, and now I can't even function. Now I'm totally blind, and so focus create blindness. It says when faced with a challenge, your brain's default is to create a false dichotomy. This was crucial. It says they know that altogether they must achieve. So they talked about a false dichotomy. So they talked about the Disney show. So if you have the Disney show, you have one person that just wants to give a great show, and then you have another person that's their objective is safety. So if you want Tinkerbell, you want to give a Tinkerbell show, and you want to fly her on this invisible line, and she's flying and wowing the crowd, entertaining the crowd, right? And everybody's amazed. That is going to serve the objective of show. That you're going to put on a good show. But the person who has safety in mind, they want to make sure that all of the performers are safe. So everything must be safe. So now you have this dichotomy, and this person says this is a false dichotomy. So this says you either have to go for safety or you got to go for show. Which one you gonna ride with? Are you gonna ride with the safety or are you gonna ride with the show? Are you gonna focus on putting on a great performance that's just gonna wow the crowd, or are you going to just promote safety and give a good show, right? And he says our mind naturally does this. We create these false dichotomies. We say, oh, you know what? It's either this route or that route. It's either one or it's two. It's either A or it's B, and we leave no room for C. We leave no room for three. So he's saying is this is a false dichotomy. So he says now, if I can be intelligent now, instead of short circuiting my own intelligence, I can say, you know what? There are no false dichotomies. There are two options. There is safety, there's show. Now I want to accommodate both of them. Let's bring both of them in. Let's bring both of them in. Let's say, okay, I got this shortcut. I don't want to sit this red light. I'm gonna take a shortcut. But you know what? I'll take the shortcut sometimes. Today, I'm gonna sit at the red light and just see if I recognize, see if I recognize anything that could be a benefit to me. See if I can see something. Maybe there's somebody on that corner that's struggling, a car down or something like that, and I see them, or somebody struggling, and I give them, $2 or $3 to help them, and say, God bless you. Here you go. I can say, okay, I have these two options, but I can still function and soak in the experience. So now they're saying, now they brought the safety objective and the show objective together. And that's why they put on these great shows. They say, you know what? We can wow the crowd and still be safe. We can have these harnesses that are nearly invisible, but it can hold all of this weight. They're strong, they're tight. So now I don't have to create a false dichotomy. I can pull in these two arenas, these two things. I can pull them in instead of pitting them against one another. I can bring them in, and now it can work for the desired goal. It can work for the desired goal. And this is something we must do. We must get exposed to get away from these false dichotomies and say, you know what, let's open this up. Let's open this thing up. And I thought that was beautiful. And so, and it says the world is filled with dichotomies, men versus women, right versus left, freedom versus responsibility, nurture versus nature, strategic versus tactical. When pitted against one another, they can cause conflict, yet when harnessed together, they can create great results. So when you harness these things together, it creates great results. But the bad is when we create, it's one way or it's the highway. It's this way or that way. And this is the shortcut mindset that can be so dangerous, guys. So dangerous. So looking at this, another article I was looking at, he says we live in the TGIF generation. Now, this guy, he is about high school athletics, getting youth, helping youth, accommodating youth and seeing them into college and even off into the pros. So he says, but the danger is now, he's been doing it for a long time. So he says the danger now, we live in a TGIF generation. So there's a difference between how recruiting was 15 years ago than how it is now. And TGIF is Twitter, Google, Instagram, and Facebook. He says Twitter, Google, Instagram, and Facebook has emerged, and coaches face challenges they didn't have to face 15 years ago. Now watch this. We're talking about the shortcut mindset. When the end justifies the mean, I'll do anything for success, right? But I'm skipping something. Many coaches find student athletes are using HGH, which is human growth hormones, in order to differentiate themselves from their peers and to get noticed. So now, in order to get noticed, we have kids, y'all, We have kids who have accommodated the shortcut mindset. Now it's in their psychology that I have to find the best, quickest way. The end absolutely justifies the means. So now I'm putting things into my body that is totally committed to the short term. It's totally committed to the short term. Focus creates blindness. Now watch this. The TGIF generation is filled with student athletes who think short term and shortcut. Kids sabotage themselves because they don't see beyond their own nose, nor think about long-term outcomes for their conduct. That when making decisions, they think too much about the short-term benefits and not enough about long-term consequences. And so here we are, we have the short-term, shortcut mindset will absolutely create a blindness to the long-term effects, the long-term consequences, and long-term success. Because if I'm taking these performance enhancers, enhancing drugs, now this was sad, but because of the day and age where everything has, we're marketed to, the marketers are marketing to a shortcut psychology. So if you can get this quicker, now I'm going to market this. I'm going to cut out process and get you what you want as quick as by any means necessary. I'll roll over whoever I have to roll over. I'll step on whoever I have to step on to get what you want because you know you want this quicker. Why? Get it in 5 days when you can get it in 2, right? And so look at this. At the same time, a stunning 11% of high school student athletes admit to using performance enhancing drugs. 11% of student athletes, high school, these are kids, high school. Now, I was a student athlete. I was a high school athlete. I can't imagine feeling like I am forced to take steroids or performance enhancing drugs so that I can just compete. That's a sad thing. Yo, this is dangerous. This hit me. And he says, based on a study of Partnership for Drug-Free Kids, less than 1% of Olympians use PEDs, but over 11% of high school students admitted to using PEDs. So do you see what the problem is? You have Olympians, which is a small percentage of the whole world. People who actually are Olympic athletes are less than, I know it's much less than a tenth of a percent, I'm sure. Are you talking about the population? But this says that 11% of high schoolers admit. So we all know, common knowledge says there's way more than 11% that are using PEDs. If 11% admitted it, then we know there's a great percentage of people who won't admit it, kids who won't admit it. So, but then only 1%, less than 1% of Olympic athletes use PEDs. So you see, it's like a funnel. You see this? The funnel is the small part at the top. So you got all these people that are going into this top thing that's creating a culture. If all of these people are crowding at the top of this thing, it's creating a culture, but the bottom of that funnel is so small and only so many people are going to make it in there. But the culture has been created at the top. And only so few are going to actually get through that little hole at the bottom. And so we've created a culture where shortcuts is the mindset. It's the way to do it. Short circuit psychology, short mind, and then what happens is we're short circuiting our own intelligence. So now I'm not even intelligent enough because I want success right now. I'm not looking at how it's going to affect my health, 10 years from now, 5 years from now. I'm not even looking how it's going to affect my family or how the embarrassment. Look at Lance Armstrong. Look what happened. Yes, he won Tour de France, right? He won it, I don't know, 3 times or something like that. Something crazy. And that success was great. But where is he now? Have you heard about him now? Nobody respects him. Nobody is friends with him. He lost almost $100 million in endorsements, and nobody respects him. So his reputation's gone. His career's over. He's lost money. He's lost financially. Why? Because he went for the shortcut. It undermined his own intelligence. He didn't look at his long term. He didn't look at it. And when shortcuts work, y'all, come on now, psychologically, when shortcuts seem to work, we get more addicted to them, right? If something's short, if I can do something quicker, I'll be more addicted to that thing. And that's what happens with the psychology of it. Now my intelligence is being totally betrayed because I'm not looking down the road. You know, you can look at, the bodybuilding shows where they take the steroids and look at how young these guys are dying. 25, 26, because they're looking for right now success, and it's undermining their own intelligence of my own body. I care about my health. I want to live. I want to be happy and healthy at 50. But short-term mindset can absolutely hinder my growth, and it can hinder true growth, authentic growth, I should say. And so he says 60% of NBA players are broke. So it's talking about they're not even financially, because they were so in tune with the right now success, they squandered the success that they had. They weren't looking long term. And so it says 60% of NBA players are broke within 5 years of retiring from the game. 78% of NFL players go bankrupt or end up facing serious financial stress within 2 years of ending their playing careers. What does this say? This says that the right now success blinded them from future success, from long-term success, from saving money, putting money away, investing, making smart money decisions. The end justified their means. So once I got to the end, it was over, right? And we have to know the end is never the end. The end is never the end. Until you stop breathing, the end is never the end. Our goals always are going to begin another. Every met goal will begin another goal, right? So we must look long term to everything that we're doing. And so this guy says, I encourage these students to think bigger, to think before, and to think beyond. Think bigger than your right now. And this is good for us. Think bigger than right now. So that shortcut, it might accommodate my right now, but I want to think bigger than my right now. Then it says think before. So before I make this decision based on this shortcut, before I take this shortcut, I want to think. This is what I said yesterday. Know the cost. I need to think and understand, what's the cost of this. What is this going to cost me long-term success, long-term growth? Is this going to cost me a process that is actually required for success? I need to think before. And then he says think beyond. I need to think beyond this. And especially as an athlete, this is crucial, because athletes, you almost get stuck into the now. It's hard to think long term. It's hard to make those investments long term. I'm talking about, 10, 12, 15, 20 years from now. And so, even with football, I love football. I love it. But I wasn't thinking about concussions and stuff when I played. We weren't thinking about that. We weren't thinking about how am I gonna be when I'm 40 or when I'm 50. We weren't thinking about that. We weren't thinking about that. And so, that's why I read all the time. I have to read because I had many concussions. So I read a lot. I'm like, I gotta keep exercising my brain. I can't let it sit. And so I hope hopefully this helped. This helped. One thing, another ugly was I read this. It says in taking shortcuts on the job. This is talking about OSHA and different things. When employees take shortcuts on the job, they're 6 times more likely to experience an accident or injury as a result of unsafe behaviors. Again, focus creates blindness. If I'm just focused on getting this job done, then I'm not focused to safety. And it says 92%. It says one large insurance firm reported 92% of their reported injuries of workers' comp claims occurred because workers were not performing their tasks properly. They weren't performing them properly. Shortcuts, right? So the ugly is bad things can happen when we're shortcutting. When we're making shortcuts, we're dominated by the shortcut. Bad things can happen, and this is the ugly, because this is injury, this is death. People can die. I read this in the same article in 1979. You guys remember? You can go on Google and look it up. In Chicago Airport, 1979, the American airline jet crashed, killing 271 people on board. It killed everybody on board of this huge airplane. Almost 300 people dead. Why? Because the worker who was working on the engine, he took a shortcut. He took a shortcut. He took a shortcut. He took a shortcut with the engine, and instead of screwing everything down to where it needed to be, he was dominated by time. So he saved time, but what did it cost him? It cost him almost 300 lives. So you know what? Choose you to truly diagnose the shortcut that is presenting itself to you. Choose you for growth. Choose you for development. Choose you for success. There is no success without the process. So I hope this helped. Can't wait to read you guys' feedback. And I appreciate y'all feedback so much. And we're going to get back maybe to this tomorrow based on you guys' feedback. Otherwise, we'll maybe start something new. Hope you guys have an awesome, awesome day, awesome week. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow. God bless. Love y'all.